And away we go. Hello everyone and welcome back to JohnnyKpicks, where I'm going to break down the whole main card and a couple other of my favorite fights for UFC 266, Volkanovski versus Ortega. As always, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. It'll be much appreciated. But before we get into my predictions, I'm going to recap the picks from last week's UFC Vegas 37. I ended up going 2-3. But I did pick Buckley by KO and Smith by submission correctly. I had a little bad luck there picking Tony Gravely. He looked like he was going to get that KO at the end of the first, but time just ran out. If he just had like 3 more seconds, he would have got that KO for us. And unfortunately, he ended up getting KO'd right after that in the second. So that little bit of bad luck there, so that's okay. And honestly, I'll admit I was flat out wrong with Clark and Impa. But what I do know now is Cutelaba did work on his cardio. He can go 3 rounds. He can wrestle and strike without getting tired now. And also, Carlston Harris is legit. He can be on the mat. He can strike with you. He has KO power. He's going to be a problem for that division, I think, coming up here shortly. But like I said, they both had fantastic showings. I'm going to remember that in the future, and hopefully I'm not going to let that happen again. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and break down the predictions and my picks for UFC 266, Volkanovski versus Ortega. Okay, so for the first fight I'm going to break down is Uros versus Jalin Turner. Medic comes in at 7-0. He's 28 years old, 6'1" with a 71-inch reach. And Jalin Turner comes in at 10-5, 26 years old, 6'3" with a 75.5-inch reach. So I know these names may not be the most popular in the UFC at the moment, but man, this fight could be on the main card or even on a non-pay-per-view main card main event. We have 2 finishers that are fighting one another here. Medic is just insane. He's super aggressive and he's unorthodox with crazy power. And Jalin is no slouch either. In all of his wins, he's finished, whether by KO or sub. This fight is going to be fireworks for as long as it lasts. I don't see either fighter making it out of the first round. For my pick here, I really like Medic. I like what he brings. He's super explosive and he has that killer instinct. What I think is going to happen is he's going to come out early and he's going to start pressuring Turner, and eventually he's going to get that KO with something crazy, whether it's a flying knee, whether it's a high kick to the head. He's such a fun fighter to watch. Not to mention my wife's Serbian, and she's a big UFC fan. She watches with me every weekend. If she found out I didn't pick Medic, she'd probably kill me. So love you, babe. So the second fight in the prelims that I'm going to break down is Marlon Moraes versus Merab Dvalishvili. Moraes is 23-8. He's 33 years old, 5'6" with a 65.5-inch reach. And Merab comes in at 13-4. He's 30 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. So I'm going to admit here, so any fight with a Georgian fighter that's going to be in it, I'm excited. And this one should definitely be a good one as well. Both fighters aren't the greatest strikers in the world. They both have 39% striking accuracy. So here's the stats to key in on. Merab averages a crazy 7.38 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 43% accuracy. And Marlon's takedown defense is only 66%. Now, I know it's not terrible, we've seen worse than that, but going up against anybody that averages more than 3 or 4 takedowns per 15, you're going to be in a world of trouble. So in this fight, I really feel like Merab doesn't need to really reinvent the wheel by any means, if you want to say. Do what he's good at, and it's wrestling. Take him down. Get him to the ground. Stay on top. Wear down his opponent here. My pick here, I'm going to go with Merab. He's not much of a finisher, so I'm going to say he grinds out this victory to a pretty simple 30-27 decision. Okay, the next fight here is the first fight of the main card. It's Jessica Andrade versus Cynthia Calvillo. Andrade is 21-9, 30 years old, 5'1" with a 62-inch reach. And Cynthia is 9'2", 34 years old, 5'4" with a 64-inch reach. So first things first, this is UFC Johnny K fan speaking here. I am not an Andrade fan whatsoever. Ever since she KO'd Thug Rose the way she did with that body slam on her head, I was like, this is BS. Not a fan of Andrade anymore. I'm going to root against her in every fight. So Andrade is definitely going to be my women's MMA nemesis until she's out of the UFC. But then again, once the rematch happened, I was super happy Thug Rose got her revenge. But besides all that, I'll get back to prediction John here. I'm interested in this fight because I think each fighter matches up well against one another. Andrade Andrade averages 6.15 strikes per minute with a 50% accuracy versus Calvillo's 4.18 strikes per minute with a 41% accuracy. Both fighters do go for takedowns, with Andrade averaging about almost 3 takedowns per 15 versus Calvillo's almost 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. But the way I see this fight playing out is Andrade is going to be the one to push the pace here and get in Calvillo's face. And I don't think Calvillo is going to be able to knock out Andrade, but I think she's going to have a little bit of tough time doing that. So Cynthia's path to victory here, she's going to have to keep it on the outside, keep her distance, and move along the outside of the cage. In the end though, I do think Andrade is eventually going to pressure her enough to get that KO, whether it's on the feet or whether she gets that takedown and ground and pounds her. So give me Andrade by KO. Okay, next fight on the main card, we have Blaydes versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Blaydes is 14-3, 30 years old, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach. And Rozenstruik is 12-2, 33 years old, 6'4" with a 78-inch reach. So this is a classic wrestler versus power striker matchup here in the heavyweight division. And where have we seen this before? I'm sure everyone remembers Blaydes versus Lewis fight, where I think Lewis literally only threw one punch all fight, and honestly, that's all he needed. He just needed one punch, and he knocked out Blaydes when he was trying to go in for a takedown. Rozenstruik and Lewis are pretty similar style fighters. Lewis is the bigger fighter though. They pretty much are pretty close in power. I think this time Blaydes is going to learn from his mistake. That was the only thing he did wrong that whole fight. But we all know that Rozenstruik has the advantage on the feet and definitely in the power department. But I'm going to focus on the grappling and wrestling stats here. Blaydes averages 6.64 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 54% accuracy. Though Rozenstruik does have a good takedown defense at 80%, but there's really nobody in the heavyweight division that can take you down like Blaydes and as many attempts that he tries to take down his opponents. So I think that's going to be trouble for Rozenstruik here. Could lightning strike twice and Rozenstruik catches Blaydes like Lewis did? Sure, it could happen because he does have the power to do it. But like I said earlier, I don't think he's going to fall for that again. I think he learned from his mistake. The way I see this fight playing out is Blaydes is going to eventually get Rozenstruik down on the mat. He's going to work his bread and butter, his ground and pound game. I don't think he's going to get the KO, unfortunately. He's going to grind this out to a decision in the end. So give me Blaydes by decision here. Alright, so we have the people's main event here, the UFC legend fight. It's Robbie Lawler versus Nick Diaz. Robbie Lawler is 28-15, 39 years old, 5'11" with a 74-inch reach. And Nick Diaz is coming in at 26-9, 38 years old, 6 foot with a 76-inch reach. So 17 years. 17 years it took to get this rematch booked. In the UFC, 17 years is like 50 almost. It's insane that they're going to try to run this back, but I am all about it. So let's break this down here. Diaz averages 5.43 strikes per minute with a 42% accuracy versus Lawler's 3.5 strikes landed per minute and 45% accuracy. I don't want to get too crazy into the stats here other than the striking because I feel like that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a striking, all-out slugfest for however long it lasts. Everybody knows that Diaz has that wow factor. He's a legend alongside his brother Nate. Both fighters have been numerous wars throughout their career, but here's the one thing that I will key in on. Nick hasn't fought in 6 years. 6 years. That is insane. Lawler at least has been active and fighting on a regular basis, though he has lost his last 4 matches, but at least he's staying active. But I think this fight plays out one of 2 ways. Either Nick comes in all fresh from the 6-year layoff and he gets that KO super early in the first, maybe early second, or Lawler's going to end up grinding it out a little bit and he's going to get that KO in the later rounds, either 3 or 4. Because this is a 5-round fight, which the fans want a 5-round fight for this. They don't want a 3-round fight, which I totally get. I'm totally on board with. If both of these fighters go 5 rounds, I would be shocked. Either way, this is going to be a great fight, but with my pick here, I'm going to go with a little more active person that hasn't been on a long layoff with Lawler, and I think he's going to get that KO later in the fight, like I said. I think both fighters are going to trade blows for the first round, maybe the second round too, depending on what it looks like after those first 2 rounds, who has the worst damage on their face. That's going to be the person who's going to get knocked out. So I think it's going to be Lawler by KO here. Alright, so co-main event time here. We have Valentina Schevchenko versus Lauren Murphy. Valentina Valentina comes in at 21-3, 33 years old, 5'5", with a 65.5-inch reach. And Lauren Murphy comes in at 15-4, 38 years old, 5'5", with a 68-inch reach. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. Why do I feel like every time that Valentina fights, she's automatically guaranteed to win? Oh yeah, I know why. Because she's a beast. In that women's flyweight division, there is nobody even close to Valentina. Not at all. To me, she has zero weaknesses. She's fantastic on the feet. She's amazing on the ground, whether it's on top or she's on her back. She has great get-up ability if she gets taken down. Like I said, no weaknesses at all. But I'm going to go ahead and stay focused. I'm going to get to the stats here. So Valentina averages 3.02 strikes landed per minute with a 51% accuracy, and Murphy averages 3.95 strikes per minute with a 40% accuracy. But here's the stats that you really want to look at here. Strikes absorbed per minute. For Valentina, it's 1.99 versus Murphy's 4.25. So Murphy is super hittable. She gets hit a lot. She basically dishes out just as much as she receives. And to me, versus Valentina, that's not good one bit. So let's say this fight does get to the mat. I also favor Valentina, like I said. She has a vicious ground game, and if you watched Valentina's last fight against Andrade, she had her in a crucifix and just rained down elbows, and the ref just had to call it. The one thing I will say about Murphy, though, is she's a tough woman. She just got her first submission, so I don't think she's really a submission threat one bit for Valentina. But like I said, it's not going to be easy finishing her. If you couldn't figure it out already, I'm going with Valentina, and I'm going to do it by KO. I think eventually, maybe in the third or fourth round, she's going to get Murphy to the ground, and it's going to not be identical to Andrade, but it's going to be ground and pound, elbows galore. Murphy's going to not know what to do, and the ref is just going to stop it, and Valentina wins, keeps her belt like always, because she's amazing, and no one's going to beat her in that division. The only way someone's going to beat her is if she fights Nunes, and that's even going to be a great fight, but hopefully that happens, because no one's going to be beating Valentina anytime soon. Okay, so we have main event time here. It's Alexander Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega. Volkanovski comes in at 22-1. He's 32 years old, 5'6", with a 71.5-inch reach. And Ortega is 15-1, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 69-inch reach. So I've been looking forward to this fight ever since they announced it shortly after Ortega beat the Korean Zombie. First things first, though, let's get into the stats. Volkanovski comes in averaging 6.02 strikes landed per minute with a 55% accuracy versus Ortega's 4.29 strikes landed per minute and 38% accuracy. So I know that 38% kind of is a little red flag there, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Another thing to point out here is the striking defense for both of these guys. Volkanovski absorbs 3.34 strikes per minute and a 60% defense to Ortega's 6.28 strikes per minute and 52% defense. So right off the bat here, the striking numbers definitely favor Volkanovski. 100% hands down. Grappling department. Volkanovski averages about 2 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 56% takedown accuracy compared to Ortega's 0.8 takedowns with a 21% accuracy. So once again, grappling department takedowns definitely favors Volkanovski. So now we're going to take down defenses, which are 72% to 56% in favor of Volkanovski. So even if Ortega tries to take down Volkanovski, I don't think he's going to be able to. So once again, that favors Volkanovski. With all of that being said, I'm going to go with the underdog, and I'm going to pick Ortega to win this. After watching Ortega striking against the Korean Zombie, who is a very, very good striker, mind you, I am a believer that Ortega can stay on the feet with Volkanovski now. I really feel like this fight is going to stay on his feet because Volkanovski does not want to test the waters with Ortega's submission game, because that's the one thing Ortega for sure has a huge advantage in. Submission game definitely goes to Ortega. So I know you're going to ask, how is Ortega going to win this fight? Well, Ortega's path to victory, to me, is to keep his distance, stay away from the clinch and fence, just keep jabbing, throwing in a couple of those well-timed elbows like he did against the Korean Zombie, do his low kicks, and he's going to have to scramble. He might get taken down once or twice. I don't know if he's going to want to try to get up or stay down there. That's the thing that kind of worries me. I know Ortega's submission game is legit, but is Volkanovski's wrestling defense good enough to not get submitted? For some reason, I have this gut feeling that as good as Ortega's striking looked against Korean Zombie, it's only going to be better against Volkanovski. So with my pick, I'm going to say that Ortega wins in a very close split decision, and this fight could actually end up being a contender for the fight of the year. Okay, so to recap my picks here, I have Medic by knockout, Dvalishvili by decision, Andrade by knockout, Blaydes by decision, Lawler by knockout, Valentina by knockout, and Ortega by a very close split decision. Thank you everybody for watching, and please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. And I hope everybody enjoys UFC 266. I know I will, and happy fight night.